Happy New Year, everybody! I got this eye rolls. You know, I've never had Botox. This is not the topic today. First of all, this is the Ba.Bl podcast live stream. Okay. My house is still a mess from New Year's. I'm making hot cocoa, so the fan's on. If you hear that roar sound, and I'm sorry if it's messing up the sound here. But I don't use Botox. For some reason, I just got a higher left brow sometimes, and I try to fix it through makeup, but sometimes I'm not conscious of it, and it just gets higher and higher. But so, yeah, there's also the problem with the camera. It's a camera thing. So it kind of sucks that you have to meet me in person to know what I really look like, but through video, sometimes the cameras do funny things to you. Anyway, this is choking me. Listen up, guys. It's a new year, new topics, new dance information. I want to talk to you today. The topic today is a little bit about politics, okay? So what does that have to do with dancing? We'll get to in the end. So stay with me here. I want to talk to you about some of the recent issues in politics where we're dealing with our leader here, President, and his sort of whole mantra about making America great again. And I think there's a lot of people that were fearing that we'd go back into like the 1950s kind of lifestyle. But honestly, I think it's worse than that. I think he's trying to tell that people around America, it's not just the president, have the idea that they wanted to go all the way back to like 1800s, previous government even. There are things and reasons why I believe this. And what does this have to do with dance? Just wait, okay? So there's been some satirical sort of laws that have been tried to be passed by the Democratic Party to punish masturbators. Oh, sorry, I know this is supposed to be PG and there's probably kids that watch this, but you know, that was to sort of bring to the court's attention the importance of the role that the male plays in baby making, and to sort of go against the whole abortion laws. So anyway, there are other things that are legal and illegal in different states. So had that had taken place, if they won that and that was actually illegal, we'd have an even bigger problem. But I think that actually they created it because they knew that they would think that it was ridiculous and it was denied. But had they accepted it and be like, oh, that's a great idea, you know, it could happen. Okay, is that if we make too many of those sort of sex laws or baby making laws illegal, prostitution will then have to be legalized in order for people to do the act legally without any consequence. So that would be taking it back way, way far. I think that the Democrats are really depending on the fact that the Republicans would see it as ridiculous and back off on the abortion laws. Well, that didn't always work. It did start to make social media talk more about the importance of the male roles in baby making and in raising children, etc., and the part that they play in the reproduction process, how much they are of the actual child, And, you know, everybody's talking about what percentage you are of this, what percentage you are of that, where it comes from, da 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 da. If you do the research and you start fixing your algorithm for that to be the information that you get regularly, you'll learn a lot about it. So I would just say you can fix your algorithm. People think that it's set up a certain way, but basically it's like what you look up, right? So I only look up positive things and follow positive things or things that I'm interested in. If it's political, then it's just the politics that I want to know about. So I don't get crazy things on my phone that I don't want to see all of the time, that people complain about it a lot. It's that you're clicking on it. Stop clicking on it and it won't come through. Start clicking on the more positive things that you like, that you want to see, and those will be the things that you'll see more often. Eventually, over the course of a month or so, you will fix your own algorithm to be in your preference. So you can sort of control the internet in that way. I'm sort of like 50-50 about whether or not social media is actually bad for you. I think that it can be used wrong. I think people don't use it for the right reasons or in the right way. And so it goes haywire and people go crazy and they start to believe certain things in certain ways. There's a lot of issues with whether or not people really see the difference between AI videos and regular videos. This is not AI, it's live. Which way is it? The live sign. So I'm real. And I today we're talking about politics, but so let's get off of that sort of subject. What I really wanted to talk about was sodomy. And that's on another level, right? But not so much the acts themselves, but the laws around it. So there are a few different states that have made this illegal, sodomy, right? But there are some of the same states who have been going over the laws for bigamy and polygamy and all of those other things. So, but sodomy is a thing that I know is illegal. That's what we're going to talk about today. There's all those other things that we could talk about another time. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I was going to do a couple of different shorts, videos, reels, to get people to listen to this. But look, sodomy is a quote unquote unnatural sexual act between two people that is, basically the way they see it is that it's gay sex, right? So you cannot be gay in certain states. That's a fact. Look it up, okay? You cannot be gay in certain states and have a relationship, have relations with a partner in certain states. It's considered illegal. You will be arrested, punished, and in some states, fined over jail time. Some states you'll go to jail, and some states you'll be fined. So where I can name these states. So in Oklahoma, you can be convicted of the detestable and abominable crime against nature, which is gay sex, sodomy. And it's a felony, and you can get up to 20 years in prison. Also in Oklahoma, the terms are 5 to 20 years, but also the payment of $2,500 to $10,000. So here's my thing about that, okay? And this will be my final point, because let's mention some other states where there's like Texas and let's see, where there's a certain laws against where they will call it sexual abuse, you'll be considered a victim, quote unquote, unnatural, lascivious, I can't say it, acts. And it's applied in Florida. That law is applied in Florida, and the violation is a misdemeanor in Florida. In Minnesota, it's a voluntarily engages in or submits to an act of sodomy with another. That's what it applies to. And it's prohibited in Mississippi. Sex with two human beings or animals, and they're lumped together as the law is humans and animals, as unnatural. And so Minnesota, voluntarily, even if it's voluntarily, it is illegal, because if it's with a human, they see it as the same as if you did it with an animal. Okay, and let's see here. In some cases, it's considered rape, depending on the age of the person. In Texas, there's some laws against it, so gay couples may feel compelled to hide the relationship in Texas. Right now, 2026, even from 2025 to 2026 is now January 2nd, and these laws are in place. So there are certain states where you cannot actually be gay legally. And in Oklahoma, they charge you $2,500 to $10,000, but they also put you in prison. I want to talk about this. Okay. That means the government can literally employ gay boys to try and trick these people like they did to George Michael. That actually happened in California, I think. And I'm in California, so it was kind of a strange thing how that happened, like in the LA area, like in Beverly Hills or something. And it's such a big deal in one of the most gayest cities in the state, but whatever. Anyway, so you can go to prison, you can be fined in Oklahoma, and they can literally hire a gay boy to trick you into doing it, or to try to find these people, not just to put you in prison, but you're also giving the government money. So that money will go to pay for your imprisonment, but also can be fined a loan in order to fund other things that the state needs. So they're literally using gay people, or gay men more specifically, to pay and fund the state's other needs. $2,500 to $10,000. It's like they probably, you know how politics works, probably have hired prostitutes, gay prostitutes, to do this for them. So not only is it illegal, but it's kind of like how there are people hired to pull the plug and, inject deadly doses of something to kill serial killers or awful people. There are people living in society that kill killers, murderers, and for a living, and that's their job. So in the same sense, in those states where it's illegal, they are probably also paying people to prostitute themselves to gay men that they think are gay, in order for those people to be imprisoned and fined, caught, imprisoned and fined. That's horrific. It's awful. It's terrible. That's what should be illegal. But So in no way am I advising people to go over there and apply to the government for this position. Okay, what I'm saying, the problem here with the sodomy laws, and what that has to do with dance, there are competitions all over America in each state, even in states where dance is not popular. Like, I know somebody that lives in North Carolina, and I went down there to check out the beaches and see if there would be any business for me over there, because they were like raving about how beautiful the beaches are, how beautiful it is. And then I found out how little people dance. I looked at all the dance studios around, they were failing. It was rough, though it was a rich area. What was considered the ghetto was just that businesses were dying. I don't know if it was after COVID or it's because of the natural disasters that happened there, but like buildings were torn apart, dance studios were struggling. I think there was only one dance studio for more than half of the state. And going towards the beaches, there is like one night, a social night that people could go to, but there aren't very many people there because it's a beach area. But so I thought, oh, I could bring it here, but I went into one of the bigger cities where there was one dance studio, and it was an Arthur Murray dance studio. But that meant that the business for independent dancers, for WDC, the NDCA dancers, or any other organization like WDSF or USA Dance is not available to people there as much as it is in other states. So I think North Carolina is actually a red state, but the thing about that is that there are competitions there. People will still travel there to compete, even though dancing isn't very popular there. And it's just because when an organization is looking to grow competitions and have competitions in different places, they'll only have so many spots for a competition in each state. So like maybe they'll do 5 to 10 competitions in one state. And once those spots are filled, they'll go to a different state. So they have competitions in states where dancing isn't even a thing. And that's one of those states. But there's competitions in Minnesota, Florida, Texas, quite a few. And what we know, that's within every organization, even the franchises like Arthur Murray and Fred Astaire. Okay, all of them. But what we know about dancing is that it's very accepting and open to gay people, LGBTQ plus, etc. Everybody is invited and accepted in this industry, but not all over the country and not all over the world. Do they feel the same way? So my confusion as to why we have competitions in those states where they could literally get in trouble if they bring their partner and are sharing a room with their partner because they're both dancing in a competition. And then they're punished for sharing a room, for what the possibilities are of sodomy in certain states. That's scary as hell to me, that there are competitions in those states and that a lot of dancers couple up and partner with people that they work with and go to competitions together and share rooms. It's just, and then not to mention the amateurs or even the professionals that dance together, and that we are sort of widening or opening up the same-sex category or the same gender category in dancing, and that we're having those dances and those competitions in those states, that category opened up in each competition, and then going to those states, I feel like there should be some of this business that is not in those states. But then also at the same time, there's this thing where you kind of want to be everywhere. You want it to be open. And I've always said that as a brown person, bisexual, that you should also always put your foot in the door and put yourself in places where people think you don't belong, because you could be the first and open that door for other people like you, because why do they deserve the good things? If it's a nice club area or a nice lodge or golfing or dancing or whatever it is, a ballroom. In this city where I am, there's this ballroom lodge thing that used to be only available to older white men, and they were known to be racist bigots, but now is owned by a female and run by females. Everybody in the party planners, the owner, the people that work there, aside from security, they're all women. And I don't know that any of them are gay, but it's made a huge turnaround, and they're open to everybody. They don't discriminate in the business that they do, or who can, have weddings or parties at their venues. So things have changed a lot just in this city and with certain places like that. But that goes on all around the country. And that's because some woman decided to just apply, or just to put her money up and say, I want to buy this place. And so that's what I mean as a female. Even you got to put your foot in the door where people think you don't belong. Make yourself belong. And I've always stood by that, but I think there's also a lot of danger in it. As an individual, you can do that, but when you have a company and you're putting your employees or a company that invites people, independent business people, it's just something that is required for their business to make more money. It's dangerous. It's putting them in danger, and some of which are not aware of the laws all over the place, because some of them are immigrants, even though they're white immigrants, and they're not going to be punished as much as somebody like me would be if I was from another country. But they're Ukrainian, Russian, Irish, whatever, Polish, Dutch, whatever. There's a lot of immigrants from all over the place in ballroom dancing and Latin dancing. And in Florida, salsa is huge. That I couldn't totally understand the whole alligator Alcatraz thing when there's a large portion of that state, especially towards the beach areas, that are brown people from other countries, mainly Cuba, right? And how many celebrations and big companies, big money-making businesses, competitions, etc., nightclubs that are run and owned and help the economy in those areas, owned and run by brown people, and then the threat to them to be in prison just even if they were citizens, was crazy to me. It didn't make any sense at all. It just was like, how are you going to fund that, but how do you even plan to really make that a possibility? That's like you would be getting rid of half the state. That there would be nobody to run your city, to run your state. You would run out of workers. It doesn't make any sense at all for Florida. But Florida officials don't think like California officials, so it's a very different place. And you'd think that because of the places like Disney and Universal being there, that it would have been voted against, but it wasn't. It's just quite scary. And then the amount of dance competitions that are in Florida, and that people were still going during that time, still trying to make those events happen. Well, I was me and my company, it was just me. I was boycotting it. I was like, no, I'm not going there until that issue is settled. And I would say the same about some of these other states that have laws against, sodomy or gay sex in general, the LGBTQ community. I will not personally be going there. And I don't understand how there are any artists or entertainers that have those places, comedians, etc., on their booking list, how they're traveling through there, and almost unaware. I don't know that all of them are really aware, but sort of not caring. Because I think that we can make a bigger impact by not going rather than actually going. It is dangerous. But that's hard to say, because we know, like in the 40s and 50s, prior, Black people went through a lot traveling through states as entertainers that were very racist, but maybe exception for singers and dancers, etc. As long as they were on stage, but they were treated like dirt. I think we can all agree that that is fact. But they did it anyway, and how long it took for them to achieve the kind of respect that they have today, which still isn't 100%. Obviously, now we have the issues with LGBTQ, which a lot of them are people of color. So I don't know how far we've really gotten. When I think about it, I don't know how much we've really accomplished there. I think it's just in the states that were never a problem in the first place. California, New York, Portland, Oregon is a state. But we still have a big problem in a lot of states, big states that, like Texas is one of the, Austin, Texas, I think it is, Austin, that is one of those leading places for music. And unfortunately, in a lot of those states is very country listeners, so there's a lot of sort of bad mouthing about those types of people around the board, even though they've accepted Beyonce. But because, and Freddie Fender, people like Freddie Fender, etc., over the years, it's something, sort of a stereotype that they have, because it's still existent in some of the states. It's by law. So the question is, I'm going to ask you a question because I don't have all the answers. I'm not a politician, but what do you think we can do? What do you think is smart to continue to go to these states and compete in these states and bring ourselves and share those rooms with our partners, or put our foot indoors that are closing on us, or to eliminate our business from those places until they change? What do you think in the way that the country is being led right now and the problems that we're seeing today? Is it still worth it and effective to put ourselves in the line of fire, put ourselves in danger for the cause? Have we not fought enough for this to not be the way we continue to move forward? I think we passed that, like we've already done that in the past. And this is as far as we've gotten, because it's happening over again, and making itself more apparent that it still exists. The discriminations against us, and our differences. Do you think, honestly, I think that there should be a new way of doing things. Maybe we haven't really made the kind of progress that we think we have. And state by state, it still remains in the same states that were the problem before. So what do we do? I want to know what your solution would be, no matter how silly it is. But because I could come up with a lot of silly things myself, I could come up with a lot of great ideas. But what's important here, I think, is that if anybody else gets to see this, that is interested in what the people think, that maybe it'll make a difference. But we got to talk to each other. We got to make each other aware. But I know there's probably a lot of people that will not compete in those states, a lot of dancers and instructors that will not go to those states and refuse their students a business there. You might want to go to that competition, but because you have family in that state, but I'm not going to go there. And so that's where it becomes a problem for our businesses, for our independent businesses all around the board. And there's even the people that are just supporters and not gay people, or trans or anything else, but supporters that are like, I refuse. I don't want to be a part of the support for that, for business in those states. But then there are people that are just like, well, we have to be the supporters of those people in those states. If they don't have us there, the supporters there, then if they go, there's nothing to protect them. So this is kind of like, you weigh it on the scale, this teeter-tottering that we do. And I don't know that it makes sense to continue to put people in that kind of danger. While we were going through that alligator Alcatraz, I was being invited and asked to go to Florida for different events concerning dance and entertainment, acting, etc. And I was like, are you serious? Like, you're literally looking me in the eye, calling me on a daily, asking me to go to Florida. I was not only concerned and insulted, but my fear was that I was being set up. It can cause some serious paranoia that you're being set up to be put in a place where you will then be cuffed up, and we're like, how protective are these people? I don't know them that well. Would they do this to me on purpose? Because they live in Florida, are they part of the problem? They're trying to catch somebody and get credit for it? Or are they, are they truly supporters and don't see it as a problem? because they have my information. I'm a U.S. citizen, but they weren't just arresting people who were not citizens. So there was some scary moments for me in business and dealing with people as far as traveling for dance and acting, etc., or just events for networking, etc., that I was invited to be involved in, and I was scared. It was scary. It's a scary, scary time for us. I don't want to be so agoraphobic that I never want to leave California, like a California agoraphobic, like I never want to leave this state. Because, I mean, Lord knows, there are racists and bigots all around me, and just in my neighborhood alone. They're everywhere. It doesn't matter what state you live in. It is safer for me here. I know that. But I've had friends that left this area where I live because they thought that it was becoming too prevalent in this area. We're in the state that voted it out. It doesn't matter where they are. It only matters that we fight to be in the areas where we deserve to be, just like anybody else does. We shouldn't want to suffer or want to be in places with less amenities, I would say, just because the support is there. Because if everybody vanishes from here, then they'll win, right? But that's just happening in this state, and it's a blue state, and it's a city supportive of the communities. And so that was concerning to me. I was like, how could you allow yourself to feed into that in this state? Like, if we don't fight for ourselves in this state and fight that off in our own state, we definitely can't do it in any other state, especially in a red state or a state against sodomy. That even uses sodomy as a negative term between humans. I don't know. It's a complicated subject. But I think the weirdest thing about it is that there's laws against gay sex, but in the same states that are against abortion. And so how does one create the other? Why? You would think, right, that one would be legalized because it doesn't affect the other. Wouldn't you think? But there's so much just unexplainable, ridiculous discrimination towards women and people who are not the norm, male and female relationships, etc. Doing everything, abiding by natural law, like going to school, going to college, getting married, having babies, picket fences, grandchildren. The male is the prominent breadwinner, and the mother takes care of the family. And then, if that's not your family, then you don't belong in those states. And that's really like strange. I've been to cities like that, and I didn't feel welcome, and I wasn't. It seems like a nice idea. It's very nice, but when you get the idea that you're the one that's different, just because of your skin color, they didn't know anything about me, but just because of my skin color, they could see that I sort of would have loved that kind of lifestyle. But just because it's so pretty, like because the women have so much time, they decorate, and they make really great food. They become really great cooks. But the children are really bratty, and everybody is sort of secretly unhappy and has their secrets, and there's secret parties where women get together and drink and talk about their husbands, and men are the same. And so it doesn't make sense to create a society where there then has to be a secret society. What's the point of this? The whole point of gayness is to be out and open. And that's really something that a lot of people don't like for some reason. They like having their secrets. So it's a weird thing, because in dance, we are taught to be really express ourselves in different ways. So dancing isn't a crime in those states yet. They have made it legal, but that's what we do. So it almost doesn't make any sense to make those other things illegal, but then be accepting of the art of dance or any art in general. And the sort of bigger fear is that they'll realize it and try to pull a footloose on us. But everybody loves that movie and that song because of how it ended. But I think what's happening in certain places is that they're trying to reverse it. Take that movie and reverse it. Take the happy ending away from us and make it their way. So it's it's kind of a difficult thing for me. When I started wanting to compete, wanted to go to different states, and it wasn't until recently where I found out that had I gone to those competitions, I may have been in really big trouble. So I'm glad that I didn't. But so that's the news. This is the thing that I was just looking up that I kind of had on my mind recently. And I think that a lot of dancers should be more aware of and start deciding what it is they think the organization should be doing about it, and start voicing their opinions to them and writing letters and writing in and talking to the officials at comps, etc. All right, so thank you so much for watching and listening. Today's live. Happy New Year, everybody. We're going to get started on a big bang. Though we're talking about this sort of difficult situation, there are a lot of great things that are happening. I got Dancing with Stars coming into town to do their big show, and I might actually go see it. But there's a lot of cool stuff going to happen in 2026, and I'm excited for this upcoming year, regardless of the politics, because what is possible in entertainment right now. And we'll talk about that sometime in the future, but there's still a lot of great things that we can do as people of color, LGBTQ, people with disabilities, anything, veterans that are concerned about what's going on with the military and politics. There's some really cool stuff that we can actually get involved in and do for ourselves in this particular industry, to keep it positive and remain part of the country that is still sane and still wants good things to happen for the people in it, and still has faith that it's a good place to live in. So while I'm here still, though I've considered moving, we will still be talking about all the things that we can do in this country. Although all those things that I'm going to talk about in the future can be done from any other country. So that's also the plus, because you can move or vacate and still get involved. Get excited. Stay tuned. Subscribe. Push that subscribe button right now. Because there's much more to come. I'm sort of backed up on my videos, but we're working on them. So thank you so much for being here today, and we'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.